Hey everybody, and yes, you read the title right, or however you subjectively interpreted it. We have Unreal Ruby Red here right away saying, penis costume trial? So it's just a demo costume and then you gotta return it? If that's how you read it, that's how you read it. So check out your Spirit Halloween return policy. But yeah, so we are going to be talking about the case of, it's the city of Fairhope in Alabama against a 62, I believe she is now, year old woman named Jeana Renea Gamble. She was arrested at a No Kings protest back in October of 2025, and this trial was initially set to start in January. It's a municipal trial, and it's been delayed like 5 times, and she was initially charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. But then months later, after the trial was supposed to start, before it was delayed, 2 new charges get added. And we're going to trace this all the way back from the beginning. So we're going to have everything in the stream from body cam. We're going to read the motion to dismiss to get some arguments from the defense. We're going to look at some statements from the Fairhope Police Department and the mayor, and we're just going to look at everything we can find. The trial is supposed to actually start right now. There's no camera in the courtroom. What I do have is going to just refresh on Facebook and Twitter to see if we get any updates on whether or not trial starts, or if it's delayed, or maybe it'll be dismissed, which I think might be the right move, but what do I know? So starting from the beginning, you guys, again, this happened back on October 18th of 2025. So we're going to initially start with this incident and offense report. And what I think is important about this, there's not too much that's interesting on it, but you'll see that there's just two incidents, 2 misdemeanors here. The disorderly conduct, the resisting arrest. This is October 18th, 2025. And we have the ordinances, the state codes for these 2 offenses. And we're going to want to know the name. This is Andrew Babb is the arresting officer. His name's going to be important, I think. And there we go. That's what kicked this off. We will watch the body cam in a second, but not until we get some of the framing context here. So after this arrest, 2 days after this arrest, we have the Fairhope Police Department issue a statement over on Facebook. Love that that's where we put the information out there. A Fairhope woman was arrested for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest during a protest on Greeno Road on Saturday. Officers were dispatched following complaints regarding traffic hazards in the area. Now, this is complaints with the plural, and it's just characterized as regarding traffic hazards. So it doesn't explicitly say, multiple people were calling saying they were uncomfortable and threatened by a woman in a penis costume. But anyway, I digress. Upon arrival, an officer, that's Babb, observed an individual in a phallic costume near the Baldwin Square shopping center. The officer approached the woman and requested that she remove the costume, which is deemed obscene in a public setting. However, she refused to comply. Jeana Renea Gamble, 61, of Fairhope, so she's had a birthday, happy birthday to Grandma, was subsequently charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest, both of which are misdemeanor charges. All right, so this is the beginning of the saga. I had first heard about this. The Intercept actually did an article around the time the most recently scheduled trial date was delayed, right? So I got this email and I'm like, grandmother faces trial in Alabama for wearing penis costume? And then I heard it was delayed, so I'm like, all right, we're going to wait. We're going to wait for the chat to hear about this and talk about it. So here we are today. Also some context. This is apparently, Gamble said she got the costume from Spirit Halloween. So if you want the exact one, you guys, this is the one. It is the adult penis inflatable costume. It's got 7 reviews. It's rated 4.53 stars. It's $49.99. The color is beige. The size is one size fits most. And it's out of stock. It's in demand. This penis costume is in demand. It says, do you have the balls to wear this inflatable penis costume? Miss Gamble did. Turn yourself into a giant penis with this full body inflatable penis suit, featuring armholes, a sheer face panel, and an internal fan. It has an internal fan, you guys. That keeps things erect. This costume is a guaranteed hit And here you go. It comes with, oh, it doesn't come with the AA batteries, you guys. You got to get the batteries separately. To care for it, you've got a spot clean. It's imported. Size chart. There you go. They have a size chart. And they have some other you may also likes down here. All right, so there we go with that. All right, so next up we're going to get into this body cam, the footage, what actually happened. What actually happened. So we've got this part. This was reported by The Intercept. I didn't see a place that we could go hear this tape, but apparently there's it's probably in Discovery somewhere. The docket didn't seem all that accessible, unfortunately. I had trouble finding anything online that didn't want to charge me just to run a search. So here we have talking to a colleague over his two-way radio after the encounter. Bab described what happened. Bab's the arresting officer. Gamble was dressed, quote, like a freaking wiener, he says on the tape. So he ordered her to remove the costume. She refused, invoking her First Amendment rights. So Bab, this is a quote from Bab from this tape to his colleague. I said, that's not freedom of speech, Bab continues. This is a family town, and being dressed like that is not going to be tolerated. When she started to leave, I said, no, ma'am, Bab says on the tape. Come here, I need to talk to you. She pulled away from me, so I grabbed her and put her on the ground. And then The Intercept continues and says the body camera footage tells a different story. So let's watch the video of the hour. We're going to watch the body cam. We're going to cut. There's a few minutes in the beginning, like 47 seconds actually, where Bab is pulling up and pulling over. We'll get queued up. And hey to everybody. Hey, guys. So there's not going to be sound for a second or two, and then there will be. Oh, hold on. Is this doing this thing where I can't hear this? This did this the last time I streamed something.
Seriously?
Let's see. I think it might have been the YouTube, but maybe it was me. Now I can hear it, though, once it gets past this part.
Serious as a heart attack? I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. If my kids had to come by and see this, how would you explain it to them?
Are you recording?
I am recording. I'm recording right here. I am telling you right now, if my kids had to come by and see this, I would like to hear how you would explain to my children what you're supposed to be.
What a pun is?
I want you.
Understand what a pun is?
Let me get another unit over here. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me why.
Being detained is not. I'm going to go ahead and do this.
He grabs her by the yoke.
I'm telling you right now.
All right. So do you see that right there? We're going to run that back. We're going to run that back. Yeah, he needs backup. We're going to read that quote again. Read that quote. This is what he's saying after the event. She's dressed like a freaking wiener. So he ordered her to remove the costume. She refused and said, that's not freedom of speech. This is a family town, and being dressed like that is not going to be tolerated. When she started to leave, I said, no, ma'am. Come here. I need to talk to you. She pulled away from me, so I grabbed her and put her on the ground. Like, is this type of takedown necessary?
I want you to tell me.
The hand.
I want you to tell me why.
Being detained is not. I'm going to go ahead and do this.
I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right now.
Sir, leave him alone!
Turn over. On your belly. On your belly.
Walking away!
On your belly.
That's absurd!
I told her to take it off. Give me your arm. Give me your arm.
She's gonna take it off!
Give me your arm.
What if she has no clothes under?
I want your arm now. I need somebody. Give me your arm now.
Walking away.
I told her to take it off.
And what ordinance was she in violation of?
It's disorderly conduct.
You could not cite
It's disorderly conduct.
I checked
All right,
your...
grab this arm.
walking away. Trying to get away. Trying to behave.
Got it. Yep.
15 seconds and she was walking away.
Other arm. Let me have your other arm. Thank you. This is a family town, and I'm not going to have somebody out here dressed like this. You understand? This isn't abusive.
Back up. Give some space.
All right. Ready? All right, hold on. This way. This way. Bring your knees up. Bring your knees up.
Knees up.
Knees up. And then you're going to sit up. Ready? Sit up.
Erect yourself.
Stand up. All right, come on. I would hate for her grandkids to see her like this.
Our grandkid helped put that on her.
That's a shame. Come on, have a seat. Watch your step.
I can't see anything.
Now, I'd like for her to take this off.
I know, they can't seem to cite an ordinance. They never can.
Where? There you are. Can you see me?
They can't get it in.
Sit back. Sit back. Now, what you're going to do.
That's as high as my butt goes.
I understand.
And it's,
Look,
and it's cramping my leg.
I know. Listen to me. We're kind of having to fight this suit. So I want you to sit back. You're going to, this leg right here. You feel my leg right here? I want you to raise this leg until it's on mine. There you go. And then you're going to slide straight back in, okay?
Slide straight back
Can
in.
somebody pull me in? I can't slide because my hands are fixing to
All right,
bleed
stand
from
up.
these
Stand up.
things.
Stand up.
Poor grandma.
Okay, stand straight up. I get it. We're going to rock that over here. All right, come with me.
What are the charges?
Here, you roll that up.
I'm on charges.
If you unlock.
Got it?
Yep.
I can go to the other side. We might do
Hey, I need you to get back, okay? I need you to get back, okay? I need you to get back.
Is he trying not to laugh?
Step in. Pick up your foot. There you go. Step in.
My hands! I am an ASL interpreter and my hands are killing me.
Turn around. Turn around. Scoot back in. Scoot back in. Scoot back in.
I am trying.
He's going to help you. The officer's going to help you.
I can't. I can't.
You gotta get this suit on. Yep. All right, we're gonna get the suit out. Come on, step
Can my
out.
person get my suit off?
No, we're gonna take it off of you. Come on, step out.
the suit off.
All right, uncover. All right, uncover and let's take the suit off.
Okay. Ultimate backing up first, please.
They've not done anything.
I'm gonna take these hands.
Right, okay. That's fine. We're going to get legal. I got you. You can stand over at the sidewalk right now. You cannot stand this close.
Why not?
Again, for officer safety reasons, you guys got to back up.
I'm her husband.
Okay,
Stay right here. Don't move.
Back
Okay.
up to the sidewalk right now, please.
All right, got the handcuffs off. You're gonna take this off. What's your name?
Aunt Tifa.
Antifa. Can you tell me where the zipper to this is?
It's in the bag.
Okay. Antifa, I'm not trying to be difficult with you, ma'am. I'm trying to.
Wait, he thought that was really her name?
No, I'm not trying to violate your freedom of speech. I'm trying to preserve a town that has values. Put your head down. Put your head down. We're gonna come over the top. Put your head down.
I got in. Let me pick it up.
Okay. All right. You're exactly right.
All right. Ready to drop? Pass your
All
feet,
right.
okay?
Pull your feet out.
Right here, Buffalo.
All right,
Pull your
step
feet
of
out.
it. Step out of it.
Pull your feet out.
Oh, wait. What is that? My American flag shoes. What? I'm an American? I'm an American! Who
Hell yeah.
knew?
Hurry up.
Who knew? I have rights! Who knew?
Go, grandma.
All right. No, leave that there. We'll take it. We'll grab it. All right.
You're gonna
Put
take
it-
my property
put 'em-
too? All right, turn around.
Hey, put them on the front. Put them on the front. They're awesome. Hands in the front.
Fairhope. In Fairhope, a single tax colony. The children have been cheering me on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I walked from
No
Subway.
child's going to cheer you on dressed like
Yes,
a wiener.
they did.
That's because they're children and they're as immature as you are.
Hold on. Can we listen to his two statements and how they contradict each other right here?
Colony. The children have been cheering me on. I walked from Subway.
No child's going to cheer you on dressed like
Yes,
a wiener.
they did.
That's because they're children and they're as immature as you are.
Where's your brain? He's got the penis in the back of the car.
All right, y'all meet me up at the gym.
Hey mom, I arrested a penis. Shame on you.
Okay, there's more. How long does it say?
I'll be transporting one female to the jail starting miles 97130.
Okay, so that's the end of the... I haven't watched this. I waited for you guys. Like, I'll let you know if I watch things in advance and know what's coming up. So this was a blind watch for me. But I think since there's still several minutes here, maybe this is where we hear that conversation over the radio. So let's just listen.
Unit 165 joint call.
21 will meet them up there. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to come into the street. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to come into the street. Do not step into the street. It is illegal to step into the street. Do not come into the street. It is illegal to step into the street.
Got a rosary hanging from the mirror.
Hey, y'all make sure not to come into the road, okay?
I really don't mean this in any way to disrespect religion or for this guy's choice to have whatever he wants, like hanging while he's driving in what can be a dangerous job. But isn't there a bit of irony here that in this patrol vehicle, there's a rosary hanging from the mirror, but he's telling this lady that the reason she can't be wearing this costume in public is, what would you say if kids asked you right now why you were wearing that? It's just a little bit odd.
Just don't come in the road.
Right? That's a
Okay,
rosary.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what we like.
Oh, he's got his Wawa coffee.
Thank you. That's the ticket.
Alright, so let's see if he talks to his fellow officer over this radio. We're just gonna watch him drive. What do you think he's thinking about? It'd be funnier if the costume was in his car while he's driving. Yeah, it doesn't really sound that good. Alright, maybe we won't hear anything. The captions got him snorting. Let's jump a little. Driving past the library.
What up?
What happened?
Well, one dressed like a friggin' wiener. Come up, and she's wearing a big, gigantic penis costume, and is like, hey, look, you got to take that off. And she was like, take what off? My, freedom of speech or whatever. And I said, that's not freedom of speech. I said, man, this is a family town. And I said, and being dressed like that's not going to be tolerated. I said, it's disorderly conduct. I said, you're setting an example that doesn't need to be set. I said, if my kids were to come by here and see that, what would they, I said, how would you explain it to them? And she said, I'd explain to them that we don't have kings. And I said, that's not what I'm talking about, and you know it. And I said, I need you to take the outfit off. And she went to turn around, walk off, and I said, no, ma'am. I said, come here, I need to talk to you. And she pulled away from me, so I grabbed her and put her on the ground.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, and that was the end of that. All right, so we heard Miss Gamble, Grandma Gamble, saying that she looked up the ordinance. So she tried to tell the officer, like, look, what I'm wearing isn't illegal. I looked it up. And I'm pretty sure what she looked up was this. She wasn't prepared for somebody to just decide that this was disorderly conduct and arrest her for that, and then add on, of course, resisting arrest in that process. But it seems like she looked up, can you wear, like, things that relate to nudity in public? And here we have section 13A-12-131, not to be confused with what 131 is in Georgia. Public display of obscene sticker, sign, etc. It shall be unlawful for any person to display in public any bumper sticker, sign, or writing which depicts obscene language, descriptive of sexual or excretory activities. Any person convicted of a violation of this section shall be guilty of a Class C misdemeanor and shall be punished as prescribed by law. So, and there was similar stuff to this, but descriptive of sexual activities. Is a penis costume a sexual activity? Because I don't think so. I don't think a penis costume is descriptive of anything. It's not like I'm wearing a penis costume and then one running up and depicting, like, humping somebody. Maybe that would be, like, not a good thing to do. Right? So I'm pretty sure she looked up and she's like, okay, well, if it's just penis and I'm not using it to depict something sexual, I'm not doing anything pornographic in nature, I'm using a penis for political speech at a protest, I don't think that falls under this. I think that's what she was talking about. So we heard her mention that. But this guy, we already looked if you're joining late. At this point in time, this officer in the arrest report cites 2 offenses. So disorderly conduct and resisting arrest were what she was charged with the date that this happened, October 18th, 2025. After that, we have some quotes here that The Intercept pulled together that I think would be good for us to take a look at. We saw the statement from the Fairhope Police Department that they posted over on Facebook. But then there's the attorney reacts, and we have the mayor making a statement here. So let's see. Gamble's misdemeanor charges in small-town Alabama seem relatively minor. A conviction would most likely result in a fine and a suspended sentence, according to her lawyer, David Gespes, a veteran civil rights attorney who spent decades representing people abused by police, and who called the whole thing absurd. Nonetheless, Gespes did not expect the prosecution to get this far. So this article was written about a week and a half ago. One would have thought that at some point somebody would have decided to dismiss the case, he said. He was especially struck by the knee-jerk response by city leadership, which endorsed Gamble's arrest before the facts were clear. So here's a quote from Mayor Sherry Sullivan when this happened. "This type of behavior or display is not acceptable and will not be tolerated in Fairhope. Protests should remain peaceful and free of profanity and obscene displays." So I don't know what Mayor Sherry Sullivan had in their head when they said this, but based on what we just watched, I don't think she's picturing what we were able to see on body cam. So seems like she didn't even bother to check the body cam. And I'd actually say it's worse if they did watch the body cam and this is the perception they walked away with as far as what was happening with this woman standing in a penis costume, standing there menacingly. We have Fairhope City Council President Jack Burrell said the costume violated community standards. That's the quote. To Gamble, who has turned down media requests while her prosecution is pending, the case is about much more than her individual rights. Oh, did I spell her name wrong? I gotta update my title. It says Renea. Has been saying all along is that it's not so much about her, said Gespes. It's the Constitution and the First Amendment that are on trial. And while we didn't see them, she seemed to be wearing American flag shoes and remembering that she's an American. All right, so next up, we have, let's see. There's a little bit of backing context that I wanted to get to you guys. All right, a little bit more here before we get into reading like the motion to dismiss. So in an email to The Intercept, Sullivan, the mayor, declined to say more about Gamble's prosecution. "I cannot comment on pending court cases," she wrote. But you commented earlier saying that this wouldn't be tolerated and whatever. The city attorney, Fairhope Police Department, and city council president did not respond to requests for comments. In his statements to the press last year, Burrell, the city council president, said he wanted to be sure that people's constitutional rights were respected. He added, "And I hope the police have enough evidence that they stand behind the charges." More than 5 months later, however, the evidence against Gamble remains a mystery. There are no witness accounts or recordings that show her breaking the law. And remember, trial was once again supposed to start before this article was written, and it got kicked back to April 15th. So did something just pop up between this article being written and published on the 3rd and today? So according to the official statement by the Fairhope police after the arrest, that was the Facebook post, Babb arrived at the scene due to complaints over traffic hazards in the area. Not anything Gamble had done. In a more recent filing ostensibly meant to clarify the charges, Municipal Court Prosecutor Marcus McDowell, who was also the city attorney, wrote that members of the public called police concerning traffic safety issues and a person dressed as a giant penis, thereby created a substantial traffic and safety hazard. Gespes, I don't know how to say his name, the civil rights lawyer, maintains that the city is seeking to punish his client simply for exercising her right to free expression. In a motion to dismiss the charges filed last November, he argued that Babb arrested Gamble based solely on his own prejudices. And we have a quote here. "No provision of Fairhope's disorderly conduct ordinance applies to what she was doing or wearing when she was arrested," he wrote. "Both her costume and her actions were protected First Amendment speech." In a one-line order, Municipal Judge Hamies Snedeker denied the motion. More recently, Gespes sought to subpoena the records from the radio station poll that elected Gamble as Alabamian of the Year. Shout out to Alabama. Although Gamble has not been charged with obscenity, her arrest was based on the accusation that her costume was obscene. Under prevailing case law, the question of whether something is obscene turns in part on contemporary community standards. While city leaders, that's why he wants to, if the community is voting for her to be Person of the Year, then can you also argue, if the prosecution's arguing, well, our community standards contemporaneously, like right now, we don't do that here, but yet they vote her as Person of the Year. While city leaders claim that Gamble violated community standards, the radio poll showed the opposite, Gespes wrote. Snedeker disagreed, granting McDowell's motion to toss the subpoena. So, can't subpoena that information. Maybe the radio provided it anyway. That'd be cool. As her trial approaches, Activists are preparing to show up at the courthouse to show their support for Gamble, now a minor celebrity known as Fairhope's Penis Lady. So they give her a term of endearment name. Like, the community is so offended by penises that they say penis every time they talk about her. That's not very Voldemortish. Like, that's endearment and embracing. Rather than, oh, clutch my pearls, cannot say the word, it's obscene. Just for existing. There was also, if you guys are interested, this is the group that was mentioned, Indivisible Baldwin County, and this is their event for today. I'll drop this if you guys use Facebook. This is where I'm going to refresh this to look for any updates if they post anything about the trial today. But this is the Facebook group that was just referenced in the article. So there's that. And then let's get over to the motion to... Wait, there was one more thing, I think, that was important. One more thing back over here. All right, yeah, because we didn't finish this. So they've got the Facebook, and Gamble has tried to keep a low profile since her last arrest. At the No Kings protest last week, though, the No Dictator sign appeared in the hands of a masked woman who wore dark sunglasses and a bandana over her face. It was Gamble, again wearing an inflatable costume, but this time, instead of a penis, she was dressed as an eggplant. So, are we gonna say that's obscene still? so there we go. There we go. All right, moving on into... This seems to be the element. So for the disorderly conduct, again, the 2 additional charges have not been added yet at the time that her attorney files this motion to dismiss. In February, towards the end of February, 2 additional charges, and I think you guys will laugh when these charges, you find out what they are. 2 additional charges were filed. One was giving officers a false name, and the other was breaking a city ordinance related to disturbing the peace. So the reason I laugh when I say giving officers a false name is, did they only, like, realize the Antifa thing, like, months later? Or, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because she did turn over her ID and give them her ID, and they got her name correct on the arrest report. But months later, after the trial's been delayed, after a motion to dismiss is denied with a 1-line order, we got to add more. So who knows? But anyway, it seems like the prosecution's theory is that for this disorderly conduct, a person commits the crime of disorderly conduct if with intent to cause public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, or recklessly creating a risk thereof, he or she does any of the following. And then 3, in a public place, uses abusive or obscene language or makes an obscene gesture. And to me, making a gesture would be like pretending you're going to shove somebody or punch somebody. Not necessarily just standing there with a costume. All right, so motion to dismiss, you guys. Motion to dismiss. Let me do a refresh over on X and see if I see any... Yeah, I gotta change. I spelled her name wrong. I gotta update everything. Let's see. Let me search penis trial on Twitter. See if there's any updates. Nope, and let me try... Gamble's a tough word to search. All right, so the most recent update I see, and let me drop this Twitter profile in case you guys want to follow. This was like 20 minutes ago. It's just supporters. They have the drawings of the 3 officers arresting with the penis costume. Supporters of Jeana Renea Gamble gather outside the Fairhope Municipal Building ahead of her trial. So that's all I see as far as an update. But we'll keep checking. We'll keep checking. All right, we've got motion to dismiss. This is a 20-pager. This was when there were only the 2 charges for disorderly conduct and resisting the arrest. This was filed, right away. It says the 19th. Shout out to this attorney, got right on it. Right? Yeah, November. I'm dumb. So it took about a month, but still. So motion to dismiss and brief in support thereof. Defendant, through her undersigned counsel, moves this court to dismiss the charges against her. Defendant asserts that the arresting officer lacked probable cause to arrest her and acted solely on his own prejudices. I'm going to take you guys off the screen. There you go. There you go. Now we can read. No provision of Fairhope's disorderly conduct ordinance applies to what she was doing or wearing when she was arrested, and both her costume and her actions were protected First Amendment speech. Police video taken at the scene demonstrates that she did not resist arrest, and even if she did, she had a right to do so because the arrest itself was unlawful. As grounds, defendant states, we have a footnote on facts. Ms. Gamble will limit her statement of facts to those that are, in her view, undisputed and indisputable. On Saturday, October 18th, 2025, as reported by multiple news outlets, an estimated 7 million people across the country in all 50 states protested the Trump administration in some 2,600 rallies and protests under the banner No Kings, a reference to the consolidation of power that has taken place since Donald Trump took office, within the executive branch generally, and to the president specifically. Other demonstrations were held in counties around the world, and then they put a footnote here, example of news reports. And I believe that part of the relevance of this is not just to show that this is somebody using their speech to make a statement about the government, which would fall right under the First Amendment, but it's also to show that there are numbers of people this is going on in so many other places. So if there's so many other people using such obscene ways, symbolic obscenity, to make a statement, does it offend the community? Is it something that the community doesn't really tolerate? So they say here other demonstrations were held in countries around the world. In Alabama, protests were held in 12 cities, including Fairhope. And then they cite an article here to Montgomery Advertiser. Defendant Gamble attended the Fairhope protest wearing an inflatable costume made to look like a penis. She carried with her an American flag and a sign that said, "No Dick," spelled D-I-C-K -Tater. So see Exhibit 1, a screenshot from the body-worn camera of Officer Babb, the first Fairhope officer to arrive on the scene. According to a reported statement from the Fairhope Police Department, officers were sent to the protest, quote, following complaints regarding traffic hazards in the area. No reference was made to Ms. Gamble or her costume. When Babb arrived at the scene, all the protesters were on the sidewalk, and none, including Ms. Gamble, were disturbing the peace. And that's important because you can't just now try to say that she was doing something to impede traffic or like stand in a place that would violate an ordinance. And they say, see Exhibit 2, the footage from Babb's dashboard camera beginning at 30 seconds. With a footnote here, this says exhibits that contain audio and visual recordings are being filed conventionally on a single flash drive. Timestamps refer to the minute and second displayed on the screen where the reference part of the exhibit can be found. I appreciate that clarification. The statement, as reported, went on to allege that, upon arrival, an officer observed an individual in a phallic costume near the Baldwin Square Shopping Center, near the Five Below. The officer approached the woman and requested that she remove the costume, which is deemed obscene in a public setting. It further alleged that she was arrested for disorderly conduct for failure to comply with the request. And then there's a footnote here that spills on the other page. Okay, and then the footnote here says Ms. Gamble denies the specifics of the Fairhope Police Department account. When returning to the police station, Babb stated that he told Ms. Gamble to take her costume off, and then they cite to the exhibit at 13:05. That seems to be when he's talking over the walkie. Though he is not heard saying that on the recording. Rather, the first thing he's heard to say is, "Serious as a heart attack. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. If my kids had to come by and see this, how would you explain it to them?" And then they have a footnote here that says, it appears that the exchange of words between Babb and Ms. Gamble occurred before the audio began recording, Regardless, Miss Gamble's recollection of the exchange differs from Bab's. Okay. See Exhibit 3, footage from Rab's, now his name is Rab, body-worn camera at 1 minute. At 1 minute and 30, Miss Gamble asks if she's being detained. Bab does not respond to her question, but we've just morphed his name for the rest of this. Rab does not respond to her question, but continues to complain about her garb. She then turns to walk away, at which point Rab grabs her from behind and yanks her to the ground. He never tells her she's under arrest or that she's being detained. Others at the scene gathered and protest his actions, and he responds by saying, "I told her to take it off." That's Exhibit 3 at 2 minutes 10 seconds. Bab's description of what happened on a radio call to the police department, starting at 13:05, is demonstrably false, in contradiction to what is seen and heard on his body-worn camera. He claims she turned away, he told her he needed to talk to her, and, quote, "She pulled away, so I grabbed her and put her on the ground." Miss Gamble did not pull away. She turned to leave because she had not been advised she was being detained or arrested. It is, however, true that Bab threw her to the ground. The costume Miss Gamble wore is readily available and sold commercially. She bought hers, the last available at the store, at Spirit Halloween in Foley. Otherwise, such costumes can be easily obtained on the internet and delivered to one's home. Pictures of such costume are available on public websites, easily accessed by juveniles. So again, going to the, is this really gonna get us to disorderly conduct for obscene gestures? And then they give an example of fun Idelia, big balls costume for men. All right, let's see what this is. Oh wait, I can't just, let me click it. Let me make it easy. What is a big balls costume? Let's see if I can easily extract this link so I don't have to type it manually. All right. You gotta look at all of the context is important, you guys. Extract text. Copy all text. All right. Ugh, it's gone. It's not there anymore. It says this product no longer exists. They're like, why are we cited in a motion? Take it down. Take it down. So that sucks. And then we have an Amazon one. Let's see. Let's see. What's everyone going to be for Halloween next year? Oh, see, this one's inclusive. This costume's inclusive. You have options. Look at that. You've got options. You want to check the price history, see if this has gone up? Alrighty. So back to the seriousness of this motion. Disorderly conduct. Fairhope Municipal Code Section 1412 defines disorderly conduct as committing any of the following acts. 1. Use of obscene, abusive, or profane language. It's not a language issue. 2. Making of any threats of violence to or against any other person. That didn't happen. 3. Being noisy and disorderly in or upon any street or other public place of the city or its police jurisdiction. We didn't have noisy, but I guess disorderly could be up. 4. The fast driving of any vehicle through the streets of the city. 5. Making any indecent exposure of the person, which that would have actually happened if they made her take her costume off and she was exposed underneath. 6. Engaging in, promoting, encouraging, aiding, or abetting any fight, riot, or disorderly proceeding on any street or public place or in any private building or dwelling when persons residing in the vicinity are disturbed. One struggles to determine which section of the ordinance is intended by the city to apply to Miss Gamble. Clearly, she was not making any threats, was not being noisy, and then there's a footnote for noisy saying, subsection 3 of the ordinance requires that she be both noisy and disorderly, not that she be one or the other. Regardless, the offense of disorderly conduct cannot be defined by using the term disorderly because a word cannot define itself. Okay, there we go. So my confusion over the disorderly... she was not driving and not engaging in or promoting any fighting. What is left as even tenuously covered are using obscene language or making an indecent exposure of the person. These will be addressed in turn. Both should be considered in light of the fundamental precept that criminal statutes are to be strictly construed. That's from Ex parte Land, from an Alabama criminal appeals decision in 2021. So Ms. Gamble's arrest was not the result of any language she used, obscene or otherwise. It was predicated exclusively on her outfit. Regardless, even if one were to interpret the ordinance in violation of the precept referenced in Land to include clothing and signage, and there's a footnote here, while the courts have recognized that speech can be symbolic, that does not apply to language. Alabama has limited such language in the state's disorderly conduct statute to fighting words. All right, so we have a constraint. So there's a paragraph here that says, with reference to the disorderly conduct statute, the words abusive or obscene language and obscene gesture have been interpreted narrowly to apply only to fighting words. Fighting words are those words which have a likelihood of causing a violent response by the person to whom they are addressed. That's why I was saying like a gesture, like you're getting ready to punch somebody or something. They are words that by their very utterance provoke a swift physical retaliation and incite an immediate breach of the peace. Now, if you want to get physically violent just because you see a penis costume, I think we have other issues to unpack, just saying. That's Robinson v. State. The limitation of the disorderly conduct statute to fighting words is a long-standing First Amendment protection. The Supreme Court first enunciated it, I like that, in Shaplinski v. New Hampshire from 1942. Until Babb arrived, no one present appeared so offended by Ms. Gamble's costume as to be ready to fight over it. Except for Babb. This is an artful line. This is artful. Until Babb, nobody appeared ready to fight over the penis costume. Nor was her costume directed towards any individual present at the scene. If anything, it was aimed at Donald Trump, who was in no position to begin fisticuffs, as he was, by all accounts, nowhere near Fairhope. Because Miss Gamble did not address her presumed language to any individual or group, and because her language, this is all in quotes, the language, was not in any way threatening, it simply cannot be gainsaid that subsection 1 of the ordinance applies. And of course, it was not even language. Subsection 5 of the ordinance, prohibiting indecent exposure, is equally inapplicable. One can first look at the definition of indecent exposure in the Alabama Code, 13A-6-68. A person commits the crime of indecent exposure if, with intent to arouse or gratify sexual desire of himself or herself, or of any person other than his or her spouse, he or she exposes his or her genitals under certain circumstances in which he or she knows the conduct is likely to cause affront or alarm. You guys can, if you guys think that this happened here, feel free to say so in the chat. I'm not going to say that you are not entitled to your perception of things. I cannot imagine very many people out there. We'd have to search far and wide for somebody that would read this paragraph and say, this is what Miss Gamble did. And again, with intent, when we heard her say, I looked up the ordinances, and nothing I'm doing is wrong. Like, if anything, her intent was to make sure she wasn't doing anything wrong. So, if one accepts this definition of the term, Miss Gamble's costume fails on both points. No one's sexual desire was or could have been aroused. Do we need to call Babb as a witness? And she did not expose her genitals. The Fairhope Ordinance likewise prohibits indecent exposure of the person. That does not and cannot include a costume that is made to look like a body part, however broadly one interprets the ordinance. Interpreted strictly, it is obviously limited to someone exhibiting his own actual body part to an unwelcoming audience. Public lewdness is a lesser offense of indecent exposure. From Stegall v. the State, from 1993. Yet even if the Fairhope Ordinance were to embrace lewdness within its definition of indecent exposure, in parentheses, doing so would likely render the ordinance unconstitutionally vague, and certainly could not be justified as a strict interpretation, end parentheses, it would not apply to Miss Gamble. Public lewdness is defined in Alabama Code 13A-12-30 as 1. exposing his anus or genitals in a public place, and is reckless about whether another person may be present who will be offended or alarmed by this act. So no mooning everybody and spreading the cheeks. Like, if you moon somebody and you don't spread the cheeks, if we strictly construe this, that would not count, right? 2, doing any lewd act in a public place which he knows is likely to be observed by others who would be affronted or alarmed. The word lewd cannot, of course, define itself. It is defined as obscene, lustful, indecent, lascivious, I can never say that, and lecherous. The term imports a lascivious intent. It signifies that form of immorality which has relation to moral impurity, or that which is carried on in a wanton manner. Lewd means inclined to, characterized by, or inciting to lust or lechery. Lascivious, obscene, or indecent, and that's Perry v. State. Clearly, lewd behavior and by extension indecent exposure requires some sexual content. Plaintiff's costume by no means anatomically accurate, hardly applies. We've got a footnote. Let's see. A similar charge was brought against a man named Joshua Dostis in Manchester, New Hampshire in 2000. While it is not precedential and not found in any official reporter, having been dismissed by the trial court, it is instructive. A newspaper account of the decision can be found at appealslawyer.net. Oh, hold on, let's get this one locked in and loaded, ready to go. Let's see. All right, let me search for it. Outfit wasn't lewd. The slug didn't work when I pulled it up, so let me search the site. And slug is the end part of a URL, like the slash whatever follows. That's a URL slug, not a bug. Okay, so I think this might be... Nope, this is a different name. The only thing that came up on the site when I searched for lewd was this case, and the slug took me to nowhere. It wasn't working, so who knows. Back over here. But there's something in New Hampshire that didn't even make it to trial. It was dismissed by the trial court. All right, so where was this footnote? Up here. Okay. Indeed, both these lewdness and indecent exposure at least implicitly include obscenity. The Fairhope Police Department's claim, noted above, that her costume was obscene is absurd by constitutional standards. Miller v. California established a 3-pronged test for obscenity. 1, whether the average person, applying contemporary adult community standards, finds that the matter taken as a whole appeals to prurient interest. In other words, an erotic, lascivious, abnormal, unhealthy, degrading, shameful, or morbid interest in nudity, sex, or excretion. 2, whether the average person, applying contemporary adult community standards, finds that the matter depicts or describes sexual conduct in a patently offensive way. Again, conduct, not just standing as a penis. So, ultimate sexual acts, normal or perverted, actual or simulated, masturbation, excretory functions, lewd exhibition of the genitals, or sadomasochistic sexual abuse. And 3, whether a reasonable person finds that the matter, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, stop right there, or scientific value. So, Miss Gamble's actions, by this definition, are not obscene, the police department's opinion notwithstanding. While there may somewhere be an individual whose prurient interest would be aroused by her costume, looking at you, Officer Babb, the average person's would not. That reminds me, was it the Cop City Rico? And I saw Jim was in the chat, and Adventure Aaron would say this too. So we've got in the Cop City Rico filings over in Georgia, there was a distinction between like persons of ordinary intelligence and then law enforcement. And I just thought it was a hysterical way to word thing. I don't think it's what the writer meant. But it was like, Well, they're not included in individuals that would be expected to have ordinary intelligence levels, so we have to add them in as a separate by group. So, anyway, back to this. Nor did her costume depict or describe sexual conduct at all, with conduct italicized. It certainly was not patently offensive. Footnote says the arrest has garnered national attention, but has certainly not spawned an epidemic of outrage against Miss Gamble for being offensive. Most consider it funny, if a bit crude. I think that's a fair assessment. Finally, its intent was political, not prurient. Therefore, taken as a whole, it has political value, a point to which this brief will now turn. Cool. So Miss Gamble was engaging in protected speech. And let me do a quick refresh to see like a Twitter update or an update from the Facebook group. Let's see. I don't see any updates from Indivisible Baldwin County, which is the page that I'm following for updates over on Facebook. I almost said X. And then on Twitter. No updates over on Twitter quite yet. Oh, maybe. Hold on. It refreshed. Nope. Nope. So, let's see. Now turning to the whole context, the political context, and free speech. Miss Gamble was engaging in protected speech. Even if there were otherwise some arguable basis for arresting her, which there was not. And we have parentheses here saying Judge Conboy, and that's what a name, in New Hampshire saw no reason to address the constitutional issue, finding Mr. Dostis's costume could not violate the lewdness ordinance under which he was charged. So, remember they tried to link to this New Hampshire case that the link wasn't working for me, but that's what they're referencing here. Miss Gamble was engaged in protected First Amendment speech. Evidently, her costume offended the arresting officer, who told her that Fairhope is a family town, and that he would not have anyone here dressed like that, arrogating to himself what is or is not acceptable. And they cite to that part of the body cam. But offensiveness to the officer's delicate sensibilities, or those of unidentified Fairhope residents, we have a footnote, is not grounds for arrest. Nobody else has come forward, I bet. All right, so footnote 10 says one resident of all the uncounted number who passed by or were present, and the several who called about the protest, called the police department to complain. So we have one complaint. One complaint. Now, do you think that if one community member has a complaint, out of hundreds, out of dozens, out of 10, out of 5, if one person has a complaint, does that mean that is the community standard? So, they say the First Amendment's protection of free speech would be meaningless if it were limited only to that speech which does not offend. And the First Amendment and the Supreme Court trump Bab's predisposition and predilection. Nearly 50 years ago, the Supreme Court held that Nazis had the right to march in a town populated by Holocaust survivors. That's the Skokie case, the National Socialist Party of America v. Village of Skokie. 8 years later, it said the speech of the Ku Klux Klan could not be stifled. Brandenburg v. Ohio. And then it held that burning a United States flag was protected symbolic speech. And that's Texas v. Johnson. Can one deny that each of these actions would be more offensive to more people than a protester in an anatomically imprecise phallic costume? Oh, yeah, I think that was a good lead-in. Yeah, that little calling him, the officer has delicate sensibilities. Everybody, we should adopt that phrase. Yeah, he's got delicate sensibilities. She's got delicate sensibilities. So, like crazy. Yeah, and Bad Dazzler's like, it's not 50%. 50% would be a much more satisfactory number, right? You know, compared to one One of 100, one of hundreds. Oh, man. We've got, indeed, one must ask, who would suffer more trauma and be more offended? Would it be the Jewish residents of Skokie, survivors of concentration camps, and no doubt already affected by post-traumatic stress disorder from their experiences in Nazi Germany? Would it be a black family watching a cross being burned and hearing ugly, racist, demeaning language from a speaker? Would it be the family of a soldier killed in battle and laid to rest in a flag-draped casket, seeing the flag incinerated? Do the feelings of the fragile families of Fairhope facing a... Oh, this is alliterative. Hold on, how many F's are here? Do the feelings of the fragile families of Fairhope facing a fabric... Phallus is the same phonetic. Compare. That is very alliterative. Unless one can answer that Fairhope's families suffer more from Miss Gamble's distorted phallus costume than all three other examples, there can be no probable cause for her arrest. To channel Bab, what are those parents supposed to tell their children? Consider, too, Snyder v. Phelps. The Westboro Baptist Church, led by Fred Phelps, made a habit of picketing the funerals of fallen American service members, claiming they died because the United States tolerates homosexuality and their deity therefore hates the United States. These dead service members generally, and Lance Corporal Matthew Snyder, the dead Marine whose father sued for emotional distress particularly, were not identified as gay. The picket line was 1,000 feet from the church where the funeral was held, and the procession only got as close as 200 to 300 feet. A jury returned a multi-million-dollar verdict for Mr. Snyder. On appeal, both the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court held that the Westboro's claims were a matter of public concern, and therefore protected speech. So, jury of peers says, all right, we think that this was wrong, the speech that you were engaging in, but then the Court of Appeals and Supreme Court said, sorry, it might have been offensive, but it's a matter of public concern, and it's therefore protected speech. The Supreme Court's opinion turned on that issue and noted, whether the First Amendment prohibits holding Westboro liable for its speech in this case turns largely on whether that speech is of public or private concern, as determined by all the circumstances of the case. Speech on matters of public concern is at the heart of the First Amendment's protection. The First Amendment reflects a profound national commitment to the principle that debate on public issues should be uninhibited, robust, and wide open. That is because speech concerning public affairs is more than self-expression. It is the essence of self-government. Accordingly, speech on public issues occupies the highest rung of the hierarchy of First Amendment values and is entitled to special protection. The court found it a matter of public concern. While the questions of homosexuality and gender identity are matters of robust debate within the population, the belief that American military personnel are dying at the hand of a deity because gays have achieved a degree of acceptance in the United States appears to be limited to Fred Phelps and his half-dozen or so acolytes. Yet, that was enough for the Supreme Court to find Westboro's outer beliefs as a matter of public concern. The fact is that the First Amendment protects speech on matters of public concern, even against civil liability, much less criminal charges. Good point. Regardless of how offensive the speech may be. In Snyder, there were half a dozen picketers reflecting an opinion few others held. By contrast, as noted above, millions of people across the country and around the world were demonstrating that day. Greeno Road was lined with protesters. It cannot be denied that Miss Gamble's costume, taken in conjunction with her sign and flag, were political statements entitled to the highest rung of protection, Bab's perception, or more accurately, misperception notwithstanding. Just keep calling out Bab. Get it together, Bab. Moreover, an officer is required to consider the totality of the circumstances before making an arrest. That means police cannot consider only the facts available to them supporting guilt and ignore those that demonstrate innocence. And they're citing here to Kingsland v. City of Miami from the 11th Circuit, Kazi v. City of Birmingham, also 11th Circuit. I think 11th Circuit, that's Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. I think that's the three of us. I think it's just the three of us, but I don't know for sure. Okay, so this carries on a sentence onto this page. Miss Gamble's costume, taken in conjunction with her no dictator sign, spelled D-I-C-K, is clearly and undeniably a political statement, not some sexually explicit attempt to appeal to prurient interests. Political speech is at the very core of the First Amendment. No speech is entitled to greater protection. It need not be bland or vanilla. It can even be offensive to some. In Mills v. Alabama, the court held that Whatever differences may exist about interpretations of the First Amendment, there is practically universal agreement that a major purpose of that amendment was to protect the free speech discussion of governmental affairs. This, of course, includes discussions of candidates, structures, and forms of government, and this is bolded, the manner in which government is operated or should be operated, and all such matters related to political processes. All right, back to the argument. We've got the totality of the circumstances, including Miss Gamble's side. This is like the only time, like, how many times do we get together? We're watching whatever we're watching. We're reading something about probable cause. We're watching a trial, and officers on the stand telling us why he decided to arrest the defendant. And we hear, I made the arrest based on the totality of the circumstances. Well, this one piece of evidence or this witness or this thing that you thought happened, you found out that wasn't true, right? Yeah, but the arrest wasn't just based on that. It was based on the totality of the circumstances. And this is the one time we want to ignore the totality, and all we see is tunnel vision to penis. So, the totality of the circumstances, including Miss Gamble's sign, demonstrate beyond cavil that she was engaging in protected political speech, however offensive it may have been to Bab. Bab would have been obligated to explain to his, quote, kids, if they were there, what it meant, rather than Miss Gamble forfeiting her First Amendment rights. He certainly could explain to his children that, in the United States, people's freedom of speech is protected, even if others are offended or upset by it. Okay, he's cooking. That, he could have said, is a core American value embedded in our Constitution. It really would not be that difficult. Oh my gosh, he said, let's turn this up. Shout out to this attorney. While the police took Miss Gamble's costume, presumably as evidence, they did not take either her flag or her sign. Of course they didn't. Exhibit 4, Bellamy body-worn camera at 6 minutes 40 seconds, shows Miss Gamble's husband holding her sign and the flag. At 6:50, it shows police putting the costume in their car. Exhibit 2, Bab's dashboard camera at 3:41, shows Miss Gamble's husband retrieving the flag, and at 3:47, shows a woman not yet identified retrieving the sign. Exhibit 5, the O'Brien Armstrong body-worn camera video, so one of the other officers. At 3:05, a voice can be heard saying, "Leave that there, we'll take it." Oh. One can reasonably conclude it's the voice of one of the officers and refers to the costume. All this is further proof that none of the officers involved gave the slightest consideration to the circumstance, part of the totality, that Miss Gamble was engaging in political speech. They cared so little for that consideration that they did not consider either the flag or the sign as potential evidence. Yeah, let alone the whole context of pulling up to where there's multiple people protesting. Oh, Hal. I love when I'm cued to a comment in the chat. I saw Ajax say, LMAO Hal, and I'm like, what did he say? He said they took the D? Oh, my goodness. All right, so we've got, let's see. Did I read this? Yeah. In sum, the charge of disorderly conduct is utterly without merit and should be dismissed based both on any reasonable construction of Fairhope's ordinance and on the United States Constitution. So there's that. Next, we're going to resisting arrest. Alabama Code 13A-10-41, adopted by Fairhope as a municipal ordinance per section 14-1 of its municipal code, defines resisting arrest as intentionally preventing or attempting to prevent a peace officer from effecting a lawful arrest, and lawful is bolded, of himself or of another person. As has been demonstrated, Miss Gamble's arrest was anything but lawful. She therefore had a right to resist. The law in Alabama, and remember earlier in this, they're disagreeing that there was resistance to the arrest, but then said, even if so, it wasn't a lawful arrest. So they're covering both sides of the argument here. While she was turned away, it's not like he was already trying to grab her and arrest her. She walked away on her own without him having any hold of her and was asking, like, am I being detained? That was the context. And somehow this is the moment that gives rise to what is now being deemed as resisting arrest. But as has been demonstrated, Miss Gamble's arrest was anything but lawful. She therefore had a right to resist. The law in Alabama is clear that, to a limited degree, a party is justified in attempting to resist an unlawful arrest. A party may use reasonable force to extricate himself from an unlawful arrest. And that's Telfair v. City of Huntsville from 2002. No injuries to the officers were reported. No charges of assault were lodged. Video, which has been viewed across the country, shows 3 officers piling on Miss Gamble. If she resisted, which she did not, she had a right to do so and used only reasonable force. So here again, they're saying she didn't resist at all. And if she did, she would have had the right. Here is one clip of the arrest. The idea that a 61-year-old grandmother confined in an inflatable penis costume would be capable of any form of resistance defies belief. She could barely see or move. The clip of the arrest makes that clear. And I thought it was funny that he's like, get on your belly, get on your belly. And I'm like, can you actually even tell if she is or isn't on her belly? Because all you see is like this beige, chaotic costume mess being mushed underneath you because you're on top of her. So, can you tell? Can you actually tell? As noted above, Exhibit 3 demonstrates she was never advised she was under arrest. Bab did not respond when she asked if she was being detained. And Bab look at this typo. It says Bab babbed her. Bab gabbed her from behind without notice and threw her to the ground. Oh, the verb we didn't know we needed. Any difficulty he had placing her in custody is better explained by the fact she was wearing an inflatable suit, making it difficult for her to turn over or otherwise allow herself to be handcuffed. In fact, the body-worn camera video amply demonstrates that there was no resistance, notwithstanding her absolute right to have resisted an arrest that lacked any probable cause. That charge, too, must be dismissed. And then just like a boss, we just sign. We sign off on here. So we have David Gespis, and Kathleen Johnson. What a great name for this type of case. So there we go. Shout out to them. I'm all on board for this being dismissed. I can't believe trial was delayed 5 times. And then after that, you guys, after that motion to dismiss, which was denied. It was denied. Come February 2026, earlier this year, more charges are added. So let's look at this update here this is from WKRG by Teresa Grundman and Taylor Boyson. They published this on February 27th. Fairhope penis costume protester's lawyer says new charges violate First Amendment. So we add more charges. Oh, wait, let me see this update. Okay, that article just says that there was, it's just the delay. There's nothing else in that. So the legal battle continues for a woman arrested in Fairhope for wearing a controversial costume at a No Kings protest in October. Months after her initial arrest, Renea Gamble is now facing 2 additional charges in relation to the October incident. I almost said in retaliation. Here's the quote. She was there with this phallic costume on, holding an American flag and a sign that said no dictator, from David Gespis. Fairhope police body camera footage shows the interaction between Gamble and an officer. She says, "Am I being detained?" and he doesn't respond. So she turns to walk away, Gespis explained. He then grabs her from behind, pulls her down to the ground. At the protest in October, Gamble was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and resisting an arrest. Now, months later, 2 additional charges have been filed. Giving officers a false name, Antifa, and breaking a city ordinance related to disturbing the peace. According to court documents, during the arrest, when officers asked for Gamble's name, she stated her name was Antifa, and they spell it as Antifa, not Ant, space Tifa, with the intent to mislead the officer. Well, I'd love to hear that. I think I would love to see this argued the most in court. Did somebody say that with intent to mislead somebody? Or as snark? Another document explained that Gamble violated a municipal ordinance, unlawfully disturbing the peace of others, by dressing as a giant erect penis at or about a major traffic intersection, where the safety of pedestrians and or traffic was at substantial risk. So this is where we finally add in some issue with the traffic, the ordinances. Mr. Walkie-talkie man himself, Bab, driving away like, stay out of the street, it's illegal. Don't walk into the street, it's illegal. Well, 4 months after all this happens, we add an additional charge that she violated this ordinance by standing as an erect penis near this traffic intersection where the safety of pedestrians and or traffic was at substantial risk. Oh my goodness. My goodness. WKRG's News 5's Taylor Boyson spoke with Gamble's attorney following the recently added charges. He explained that he's prepared to defend his client in court. The whole point of the costume and the sign was making the political point about the threat of a dictator, Jespa said. Even people who disagree with her politics say that she had a right to do what she did. Gamble's attorney said this case centers on constitutionally protected political speech and believes his client is not at fault. If it's offensive to one person, I don't know if that means it's sufficiently offensive to be offensive to the community, Jespa said. It's not so much her as the Constitution on trial. Gamble will soon get her day in court, and then this is the update they had. So this article had said that it was set for March 4th, but it was delayed again. There we go. And that's just running backwards to what we already covered. So I think that takes us through it, you guys. I think that got us through everything. Yeah. Because I showed you the eggplant picture, which I thought was a nice consideration of the totality of the circumstances. If I'm going to have trouble wearing this penis costume, let me do an eggplant just to avoid any controversy while I fight for my right to wear either one. And let's do a refresh for any updates. Let me do an internet search as well. All right, the most recent thing I see today was from 13 minutes ago, and it's just talking about the supporters showing up in support. So nothing about the crowd of about 40 people showed up. The eggplant! There's an eggplant! Let's go watch this video from Erica. All right. There it is. Phones not allowed inside. People are waiting to go in 23 minutes ago. Huh. So maybe nothing really... I don't know. All right, so here we've got the eggplant. And the guy proclaiming he's a great grandpa. All right, let me get her. It's just going to give me a link. Yeah. All right, let me just type out her URL. All right, so here's Erica. She seems to be posting updates from the courthouse. That way, if you want to keep following this, if I see any update, I'll of course post that. Like, how nice would it be? I would love to just be like, hey, there's actually not gonna be a trial because the prosecutors decided this was dumb and decided at the last minute not to pursue this. And of course, if I see something like that, I would come tell you guys or any other updates. But it doesn't look like we're getting all that much. So that kind of wraps us up here. What do you guys think? Trikeisha, hope you had a great birthday. Says, what a wild case. I was gonna do a stream on this a week and a half ago. I was like, I already know. I know it's gonna be a time. I didn't know we'd have certain aspects though, like the breaking down of the case law, and it's obscene. The totality of the circumstances, the legal breakdown, the way the motion was written was just very spicy and enjoyable. So good to have you here. Hope you had a great birthday. Happily Angry Lawyer says, why haven't you made the Zach Adams decision come out yet? I wish I could. I wish I could make that decision come down. I am eagerly waiting for that decision. Yeah, Julie's saying what's sad is if it does go to trial, she'll probably spend close to $100K in legal fees. Trials are really expensive. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, we are on the heels. We're just coming off watching the Afro Man trial, and that's expensive. Like the litigation and the trial costs, and now they had to split the court costs, which I know might not be the biggest fees, but that burden ended up falling on both parties 50-50. So the 7 plaintiffs verse for 50%, and then Afro Man for the other 50%. And then dealing with the damages to his home because of the underlying raid. And here, she's facing actual criminal charges. And of course, these charges, it might just be a fine if she's convicted, but she had to post bond when she was first arrested. Granted, it was only $500, but I don't really think there's minimizing. Like, I can't really downplay or minimize something that I don't think should be happening at all. She had to be bonded out for this. And it's just like, is this a good use of our time? Community standards, like, is this what we want to have our public safety, our peace officers dedicating their time to taking care of? And I think that's a very different question than, do you think it's a little crass to see somebody walking in a penis costume? I mean, there's so much on the internet. I don't think that this is even offensive to me personally. I can see why somebody might be offended, but I can't really reconcile how somebody would think that it's okay for somebody in this country to arrest somebody because of this. It's hard for me to wrap my head around. So, and I'm glad she's fighting it. I'm glad that her attorney is speaking to the press and giving these statements and just saying this is the Constitution on trial. I think it's a very important reminder that, Miss Gamble doesn't want to make this all about like attention on her, right? She's not doing any publicity things for herself. She's saying this is about free speech. I think it's hugely, hugely important. And the continuances, like, and then it's stressful for things to drag on. So, yeah, bad Dazzer. I have a good friend that like didn't really use X at all, and one day her account was just suspended. Did the appeals, tried to verify herself, can't get back on, and just no explanation. So I'm sorry you got stuck dealing with that too. I wish I could at least understand the rationale behind those things, but I agree. for Fook knows why. Sheriff Chuck, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You guys know that the gifted membership... I could have changed the channel emoji for the members for this stream. Maybe YouTube wouldn't allow that. Maybe that's like a YouTube thing that we couldn't do. I could make it eggplants. We could have members be eggplants for anytime we talk about this trial. I should have thought about it before the stream. Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you so much, Chuck. Yeah, members. Good one. You guys are good. You guys are so quick and witty. Hey, Trial and Error Podcast. Love you guys. We just mentioned the Zach Adams case, guys. If you're wondering what I'm talking about with that case, the easiest way to find out what's going on, why Zach Adams is appealing his conviction, and the crazy things that happened over in that trial. Prosecutors seem to hate that a podcast is speaking about the case. They mentioned it in their closing arguments at the post-conviction relief hearings. But go check out Trial and Error Podcast. You can binge watch the episodes, and you'll be shocked at what happened in the investigation into the death, kidnapping, and rape of Holly Bobo. Tragic story, but also just as tragic, I think, sham of a prosecution of somebody who's innocent, Zach Adams. So, and 3 co-defendants. So go check them out. Let's see. Yeah, oh yeah, good point, Green Iris. I thought we were talking about a Halloween event since this was October after all. Yeah, because someone in the body cam was like dressed as a pumpkin. Right? There was somebody, it was a very casual pumpkin costume, but it was like orange and green. And also, I mean, Gamble said that she got the costume at a Spirit Halloween. I know those things start popping up around this time of year. Is the pumpkin in the back around here somewhere? Let's spot the pumpkin.
Having to fight this suit.
I'll mute this. But yeah, totality of the circumstances, people are wearing, yeah, right there, there's pumpkin. It shows when I scrub, but not when I play, so who knows. We'll let this run till we see Pumpkin. And hey, Defense Diaries is talking about the Zach Adams case right now. Maybe we'll redirect over to them when we end this stream, if they're still going. We've got, Julie says, thanks for your coverage. God, thank you guys for coming and hanging out and paying attention to this type of thing. You know, I love not talking to myself. You know, it feels a little awkward to not have a chat to bounce off of ideas, so I appreciate having you guys. But I also like that you guys are interested in this stuff. I think this is, how could you say it any plainer? It's a First Amendment case. I think it's stupid. I think it's stupid. Yeah, Derek, I was thinking this after the other comments on the cost. If, you know, a GoFundMe, I mean, I don't think I've seen, I scrolled a good amount of the Indivisible Facebook group, the Indivisible Baldwin County, and didn't really see them share a GoFundMe. And I feel like they would be, someone there would share it if there was one. If I do see a GoFundMe pop up, if there are expenses or court costs, I'll be sure to share it with you guys. And certainly contribute myself, because this is ridiculous. And also, the attorney, the filing made me laugh. So I'll support the cause, but I'll also chip in a few coins for the laughter. I enjoyed reading that motion. We've got, Afro Man should sing a song about this. Oh, goodness gracious. We've got maybe Megan, maybe not becoming a member. A member is an interesting word this stream. Thank you. And you've been a member before. Thank you for coming back. Oh. Factual Lie says, don't forget to do the YouTube-y things. As I have the penis on the screen. I wonder what YouTube's going to do with this video, if they'll get mad about it. Or if they'll just be like, whatever. It's really odd back in the back end of YouTube. Certain things seem to get flagged that catch me by surprise. Like, what did I say in that video that my video's yellow or completely red? And then other things I'm like, oh, whatever. This is going to get demonetized for sure, but oh well. And then it doesn't. So I'll have to see. We should do a poll. Do you think this video? We'll do a quick poll. Your votes on if YouTube will play nice with this video or not. And I usually know within like an hour after the stream ending. I'll get a notification of issues. Let's see. Will YouTube hate this video? There we go. Only 2 choices there. Keep it simple. Sheriff Chuck gifting another 5. Major, major love here for Sheriff Chuck. Showing us all so much love. Coming together, hanging out for this awesome cause. I think this case is important. I think it also gave us some laughs. And I'm not trying to laugh that Gamble has to deal with this. But I am laughing that we have a cop that is going to a No Kings protest and kind of acting like a king himself. Taking offense, demanding this woman explain what she would hypothetically explain to children if children were to ask her, why are you dressed like a penis? I'm assuming she would explain her answer. like, how did we get here? I almost wish there was a kid that just like popped out of the bush and was like, I'll ask, and then just ask the question and we could have ended it there. Like, but who knows? Dolly said, all right, who thought of me? Dolly, can you save Grandma? I think we should all save Grandma. Dolly, good to see you. Good to see you. I gotta come find some time this morning, guys. Dolly does his morning court roulette shows. They keep me going, but I've been so busy I haven't had time to tune into anything. But I miss you, Dolly. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being a member for 22 months. Nick, all the way from Sweden, but showing love for the First Amendment we have here in the United States, says, Officer Dick Unhung, is it the fake wiener that offends you, or the size of it? Where can I get one? Where can I get one? Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Nick, for, you are sharp and on top of a lot of things that go on here in our country as well. You are always giving us a reminder of, what was the curse word? It was something like, some guy said a curse word that's like a curse word we hear all the time in the United States. God forbid you're playing on like Xbox. You're going to hear this term. But a guy was convicted over in Sweden for saying it to a police officer, just cursing at a police officer. I always forget the exact term because it's just ridiculous. But always a good reminder from Nick Starro about what we have here in the United States. I'm in Florida, that we can't find in every other country out there. So, gotta protect it since we have it. Yeah, it was just noob. They got offended by noob. Trey Keisha, thanks for being a member 20 months, says, the eggplant streams not on my bingo card. Well, here we are. Here we are. We've got Sunshine for You coming in here. 9 months, thank you. Says, good afternoon, good afternoon. Such a nice and polite intro before we got into the mess of things here, talking about the eggplants. And we've got, rounding us up, we've got 10 more gifted subs from Sheriff Chuck. So I think that's going to carry us over. Sheriff Chuck will pay for the bus, our bus tickets to carry us over. We'll go over to Defense Diaries, you guys. I will keep looking for updates on this trial. Like, I want to know, did trial start? Are people just being kept outside the courthouse? Like, I don't even have... I see a comment to Erica Thompson asking, has it started yet? 6 minutes ago, someone asked. So I don't even know. I don't even know if it's actually started. We're just standing there in support, and good for them for doing that. We've got a poll. So far, the YouTube predictions are 2/3 of the chat think that, yes, YouTube will hate this video. So, probably doesn't help that I have, the penis costume on the screen and the word penis in the title. Oh, my goodness. And redirect. Defense Diaries. Double D's with Defense Diaries. Let's see. Redirect. They better not end right before we get there. Oh, and I think today... is it today? Defense Diaries hosted an awesome, online YouTube event, 2 weeks ago. And it was a role-play debate for the appeal in the Delphi case with Richard Allen. And it was Andrea Burkhart and Allie, and I forget his name, but Habeas Porpoise is his account handle. They pretended to be the appellate team versus the state and arguing both sides of the appeal brief arguments. It was so informative. I learned so much. It was great to listen to their thoughts. They're doing part 2 of that, I believe, today as well. So as you go over to Defense Diaries, they're talking about the Zach Adams case right now. If you don't already follow them, make sure you hit their subscribe button and hit the bell and check out that part 2 of, you get to see lawyers LARPing as lawyers. It's going to be great. So hope to see you guys over for at least one of their streams, if not both. Thank you so much for all the love. I miss streaming when I'm busy for a week. I really miss you guys. And then stuff like this happens and I can't read it without going live and talking to you guys. So thanks for showing up. Thank you guys for all the love, for hitting the like button and sharing your thoughts, making us laugh. And see you next time we have a penis update, you guys. Take care, everybody.